Welcome to the lab. My name's Corey, and in this video, we're doing another bits build. We're gonna be making some swords. I'm really looking forward to being able to do more of these bits videos. They're little fun, bite-sized videos where I can do something that I've learned or figured out how to put together that will improve some small details that you can put around on your terrain or miniatures. And yeah, I realized a lot of this stuff, most people are going to have 3D printed off anymore, but I do not have access for a 3D printer, and I'm sure I could find a space if I ever got one, but my office is pretty small, so not sure where I would set it up. So in the meantime, I'm figuring out how to make little tiny details, and I figured I would share them with you. That, and I wanted to bulk out my bits collection a little bit. I always like going through and doing some of these small things because they're just so fun to do. They just really are. I have a little box here of things that I've made or collected. I mean, a couple of these are bits off of sprues of extra things. But like you saw with the torches here, where I got them to the point where I primed them up, you know, just getting them to that point is really nice. I didn't actually prime these guys. There's only 10 of them. I figure I'll prime them when I go to put them on. Okay, so the first thing I have to do is tell you that I figured out how to make these swords about a year ago. I don't know, months ago anyways. So one of the issues, not really issues, but one of the things I have to say is that I don't have the full explanation of what I have got here. What these swords are made of is actually the teeth from a comb. Just go to the dollar store, buy a comb. The reason I didn't go and buy a new one for this video, this box right here is full of the teeth from a comb. I mean, it is, I could make a ton of swords if I wanted to, just from one comb, because all of these are sideways on the comb. You cut them off, and they're a perfect blade for a miniature sword. They're almost the exact right size. And likewise, the other box here on the other side is full of the teeth of a brush. So if you can go to the dollar store or like your local drugstore by your house or something like a Kinney, go buy a cheap comb and a cheap brush and cut the teeth off of all of them. That's what these little nubbin things are with the circle, the spherical bits at the end. They're the teeth off of a brush. And then with the crossguard, what I use for the crossguard are just bits of paper clip. You can use anything that's thin and straight as long as it's sturdy, and then you just super glue them together. I'm sure there might be cleaner ways to do this. I use super glue because it holds hard, and then I can layer it on either side so that they're not gonna just really easily bend apart. You can still take them apart if you need to, but yeah. So that's what these are. Just go grab them, cut the teeth off, and then you can cut them to size however you see fit. And you will have a lot. I think I spent $3 on like a set of a comb and a brush. And you can see here I would be able to make a lot of swords. Another thing I'm thinking of using the brush teeth for, because they're circular, the way they're built here, and because of the size, if you think about it, of a pommel, these would be the perfect size for little tiny doorknobs. So I'm gonna try to test that out at some point in time. I think they're really good because I've been putting a lot of door knockers on doors with little rings that I have over here. I think these would be perfect for an actual knob. Let me show you how I measure these out. I try to get the sword as close to an inch, maybe a little over, as possible. That's about right for the normal length of a sword, 5 feet. So, yeah. Let me just show you how these are made. Like I said, I took a bunch of the comb and brush pieces and a couple of paper clips, and then I cut them to size. The comb pieces for the sword blades I cut to 3/4 inch. Used an X-Acto knife and then snipped it with my clippers there. And then you can see here I did the pommel to roughly 1/4 inch. So that altogether, it'd be about 1 inch long, right? And I took a piece of paper clip and made that about a 1/4 inch long. Or clipped off pieces that were about a 1/4 inch long. And I made 10 swords in total, but I'm going to just show you the process of making one, and then I'll show you how all 10 turned out. And you can see here how they line up. Brush bit, paper clip, sword blade. That's just a rough alignment of how the sword will look, and you can see right there how large they are. So then I went ahead and trimmed up all 10 pieces of each type. Didn't take too long. And then I took a piece of double-sided tape, the foam 3M stuff that I use for the top of my painting handles, and I stuck things to it so that it was straight up, so it was easier to line. You saw me put a dab of super glue and a piece of paper clip, and then I used super glue set to make that stick. I'm not laying this down on the sticky tape, it's actually angled up off of it so that you guys can see. Sorry about all the hair. Lined it right, and then I put a dab of super glue on there, and then I used the super glue set to set it. That's why I keep leaning in. And then once that dries, you'll see me grab the super glue set right there. Boom. Perfectly aligned. And there it is. All lined up correctly into a sword. And then I reinforced it on either side with the super glue in order to get it set. And there you have it. That's what they look like, and that's what they look like painted up. And that's it. Just a little bit of patience, a few seconds, and you can make yourself pretty much as many miniature swords for decoration or little display on bases, anything really that you could use them for in the miniature hobby. I can see people, the way I used them, and I showed you there in maybe a little display, is I used them for treasure tokens for Frostgrave. Sword in the stone, you're walking through a mystical city, you find a magical weapon, and you can see them, they paint up really nicely. Just put a couple of, whatever color metallic you want for the blade and the crossguard and the pommel, and then you paint the handle brown for wood or whatever other color you want, and they work out perfectly. I did a couple with some thin thread, just get a tiny bit of clothing thread, and you can wrap around, and you'll even get this wrap look. This is a bit of a pain to do. I did it twice, and that was enough for me. I don't think I'll ever do it because it's such a tiny detail, nobody will really notice. And specifically, even if you have miniatures that already have their own swords and stuff, you could put these on the bases, because nobody's going to take the time to look at them and be like, oh, well, I can see where the super glue is there, if they're not a centerpiece. Maybe put them up on a wall of a house somewhere, crossed, with a makeshift shield behind it. There's so many things you can do with these. They're just nice, fun, little, simple, quick, mini decoration or bit that, you're gonna get a lot of use out of these. If you have any other ideas for bit pieces that you would like to see me make, go ahead and leave them in a comment below. I already have a plan for a couple more that I've figured out and that I've already used already. Specifically, I want to show you how I make potions at some point in time. If you liked the video, you know what to do. Go hit that thumb. If you want to see more, make sure you hit that subscribe button and click that notification bell if you want to see, be notified of any future bits builds that I do. This might be one of the more simple builds that I've done, but the little bits are some of the most fun to do, just because they have such use, and you can make piles of them pretty fast. So go forth with your new armory of swords, and don't forget, experiment with your hobby.